Hi there. Today is January 26th, 2026. The question of whether China should be considered a friend or foe is particularly pressing in today's geopolitical climate. Over the past few years, the relationship between China and the rest of the world, particularly Western nations, has been marked by tension and complexity. Recent events, including the ongoing technological rivalry, debates over human rights, and the expansion of China's Belt and Road Initiative, have brought the question of China's global role into sharper focus. As China's economic influence continues to grow and its political strategies become more assertive, nations worldwide are reassessing their diplomatic and economic relations with this rising superpower. Recent developments have heightened the urgency of this discussion. The United States has adopted a more confrontational stance towards China, implementing policies aimed at decoupling critical supply chains from Chinese influence. At the same time, European nations are grappling with the dual pressures of maintaining economic ties with China while addressing concerns over human rights abuses and security threats. The UK's own position has been somewhat ambivalent as it navigates a post-Brexit landscape in which both economic partnerships and security alliances are being redefined. Moreover, China's domestic policies, particularly concerning Hong Kong and Xinjiang, have provoked international outcry and strained diplomatic relations. These issues, compounded by China's assertiveness in the South China Sea and its strategic partnerships with countries such as Russia, have led many to question whether China can be viewed as a reliable partner on the world stage. The global pandemic has also played a crucial role in reshaping perceptions. China's initial handling of COVID-19, followed by its vaccine diplomacy, has illustrated both the potential for cooperation and the underlying mistrust that characterizes its interactions with other nations. This complex tapestry of economic interdependence, political rivalry, and cultural misunderstanding makes the question of China's role as a friend or foe particularly urgent. The stakes are high, not only for international relations, but for global stability and prosperity. As China continues to assert its influence, the world must decide whether to view this influence as a threat to be contained or an opportunity to be embraced. The answer will have profound implications for the future of international politics and global order. The conventional wisdom surrounding China is often based on a binary view that classifies it either as a strategic adversary threatening Western ideals or as an economic partner indispensable for global growth. Many experts, media outlets, and politicians have framed the Chinese government as a monolithic entity, pursuing a coherent, long-term strategy to become the dominant global superpower. This view is frequently bolstered by China's rapid economic growth, military expansion, and technological advancements, which are often interpreted as evidence of its broader ambitions. However, this prevailing narrative oversimplifies a far more nuanced reality. First, it tends to overlook the diversity of thought and debate within China itself. The internal dynamics of Chinese politics, characterized by a complex interplay of various factions and interest groups within the Chinese Communist Party, or CCP, are often underestimated in Western discourse. The assumption that China's actions on the world stage are the result of a unified, calculated strategy ignores the possibility of internal disagreements and shifts in policy priorities. Additionally, the portrayal of China as a singular threat often fails to adequately consider the motivations behind its actions. China's assertiveness in regions like the South China Sea, for instance, is often framed as aggressive expansionism, whereas it might be more accurately understood as a defensive posture aimed at securing vital trade routes and national sovereignty. Similarly, its Belt and Road Initiative, frequently depicted as a means of exerting global control, can also be interpreted as a strategy to address China's own developmental needs and to secure economic partnerships in an uncertain global economy. Moreover, the focus on China's potential threat tends to obscure the interdependent nature of global economic systems. The narrative of China as an economic aggressor fails to acknowledge the extent to which the world economy is intertwined with China's own development. For instance, trade relationships and supply chains have integrated Chinese manufacturing and technology into the global market to a degree that makes disengagement both impractical and economically damaging for many nations. The conventional wisdom also underestimates the capacity for cooperation between China and other countries on global issues such as climate change, public health, and counterterrorism. While differences certainly exist, China's participation in international agreements and its investments in green technology indicate areas where collaborative efforts could yield significant positive outcomes. In sum, The mainstream narrative tends to construct an image of China that is both overly simplistic and misleading. It often frames China as a coherent and unified entity with singular ambitions, while ignoring the complexities and contradictions inherent in its domestic and international policies. This mischaracterization not only hampers a genuine understanding of China, but also complicates the formulation of effective and nuanced foreign policy responses. To better understand the reality of China's international stance, it is essential to look beyond the conventional wisdom and examine what the evidence and historical record reveal. One key insight from historical precedents is the cyclical nature of China's interactions with the world. Throughout its long history, China has alternated between periods of isolation and engagement, driven by domestic circumstances and external pressures. This historical context is crucial in assessing China's current foreign policy, which is influenced by a combination of historical experience, contemporary challenges, and future aspirations. Concrete examples from recent history illustrate a more complex picture of China than the often simplified narratives suggest. For instance, China's economic reforms initiated under Deng Xiaoping in the late 20th century marked a significant departure from Maoist policies, emphasizing pragmatism and economic openness. This shift laid the foundation for China's emergence as a key player in the global economy and demonstrates its capacity for adaptive policymaking in response to changing circumstances. Furthermore, China's participation in international institutions offers insight into its approach to global governance. China's involvement in the United Nations, the World Trade Organization, and other bodies indicates a willingness to engage within established international frameworks, even as it sometimes seeks to reshape these institutions to better reflect its interests. This dual approach, working within the system while aiming to influence it, reflects a pragmatic strategy rather than a wholesale rejection of the existing order. The evidence also suggests that China's economic strategies, such as the Belt and Road Initiative, or BRI, are not solely about geopolitical dominance. While there are undoubtedly strategic elements to the BRI, such as securing supply chains and fostering economic dependencies, it also addresses China's genuine developmental needs. The initiative aims to create sustainable markets for Chinese goods, secure energy supplies, and develop infrastructure that facilitates global trade, reflecting China's recognition of mutual economic benefits. Moreover, China's technological advancements and investments in green technology highlight its commitment to addressing global challenges such as climate change. By investing in renewable energy and positioning itself as a leader in green technologies, China demonstrates a potential for cooperation on issues that require international collaboration. This is consistent with its participation in global climate agreements, where it has played a significant role in shaping international policy. Ultimately, the evidence underscores the complexity of China's role on the global stage. While it exhibits characteristics of both a competitor and a collaborator, it is neither purely a friend nor a foe. Rather, China's actions are shaped by a combination of strategic interests, economic necessities, and global responsibilities. Recognizing this multifaceted approach is essential for crafting informed and effective foreign policies that consider both the challenges and opportunities presented by China's rise. The real tension in the question of China as a friend or foe lies in the inherent contradictions and trade-offs that the global community must navigate. These complexities arise from the intersection of China's internal challenges, its international ambitions, and the responses of other nations. To understand why this problem is so hard to solve, we must confront some uncomfortable truths about the nature of international relations and the modern global order. One core tension is the balance between economic interdependence and security concerns. China's economic ascent has made it an indispensable part of the global economy, with extensive trade links and investment relationships worldwide. For many countries, China is both a crucial market and a source of affordable goods and services. However, this economic dependency is coupled with growing security apprehensions, particularly regarding technology and cyber capabilities. Nations are increasingly wary of relying on Chinese technology, fearing potential vulnerabilities and espionage. This duality creates a paradox. While nations benefit economically from engagement with China, they also perceive potential threats to their sovereignty and security. Another significant tension is the ideological divide between China's model of governance and the democratic values espoused by many Western countries. China's political system, characterized by a strong central authority and limited political freedoms, stands in stark contrast to the liberal democratic ideals of individual rights and government accountability. This ideological gap fuels mistrust and complicates diplomatic relations, as countries struggle to reconcile their values with the pragmatic necessities of engaging with China. Moreover, the tension extends to global governance and the rules-based international order. China's growing influence challenges the existing frameworks established by Western powers in the post-World War II era. China's push for greater representation and influence in international institutions reflects its desire to reshape global governance structures to better align with its own interests and perspectives. This effort is often perceived as a threat to the established order, leading to resistance and competition. The difficulty in addressing these tensions also stems from the varied responses of different nations to China's rise. Countries with diverse political systems, economic structures, and security priorities have different stakes in their relations with China. For instance, Asian neighbors may prioritize regional stability and economic cooperation, while Western nations might focus on ideological differences and security challenges. These varied perspectives complicate the formation of a cohesive international strategy toward China. Ultimately, the real tension lies in the inherent trade-offs between engagement and confrontation, cooperation and competition, and economic benefits and security risks. The challenge for the global community is to navigate these contradictions without resorting to oversimplified narratives that obscure the complexity of China's role. Achieving this balance requires a nuanced understanding of the multifaceted nature of international relations in an increasingly interconnected world. If nothing changes in the current trajectory of how nations view and interact with China, the consequences could be significant and far-reaching. The failure to effectively address the complexities of China's role on the global stage risks entrenching a cycle of misunderstanding, mistrust, and escalation. These dynamics could lead to a more fragmented and polarized international system, with profound implications for global stability and prosperity. One immediate consequence of maintaining the status quo is the potential for economic disruption. The intertwined nature of global supply chains means that any significant decoupling from China could have widespread economic repercussions, not only for China, but for countries around the world. This could lead to increased costs, supply shortages, and reduced economic growth, impacting both developed and developing nations. Moreover, continued adversarial relations could exacerbate security tensions, particularly in regions like the Asia-Pacific. The risk of military confrontations, whether in the South China Sea or through proxy conflicts, could escalate, threatening regional peace and security. Such conflicts would have global ramifications, drawing in alliances and potentially sparking wider military engagements. Additionally, a failure to engage constructively with China on global challenges such as climate change, public health, and technological innovation would hinder progress on these critical issues. Given China's significant contributions to global emissions and its leading role in technological advancement, its cooperation is essential for addressing these shared challenges. Without collaborative efforts, the world may struggle to achieve meaningful solutions. In my view, the way forward requires a rethinking of how we engage with China, moving beyond the simplistic binary of friend versus foe. A more nuanced approach should acknowledge China's legitimate aspirations and grievances, while also holding it accountable to international norms and standards. This involves fostering dialogue, building trust through transparency, and finding common ground on issues of mutual interest. Ultimately, the future of international relations hinges on our ability to navigate the complexities of China's rise with wisdom and foresight. Recognizing and addressing the multifaceted nature of China's role will be crucial in shaping a world that is more cooperative, stable, and prosperous for all.